Hello, everyone, and welcome to my tour of my fully decorated Ever After in Storybook Vale. I am very excited to reveal this to you today. I've been working very hard on it, and I think it's turned out very whimsical and fun and accomplished what I set out to do over here. Now, I didn't know what I was going to do. Most of this started with like prompts from live streams, and I knew I was going to do an Alice area and also the castle village, but everything else sort of came into place around that. So, in this first part of the Wild Woods, I decided to do a cottage core vibe that kind of takes you in a transition from the bind to the more kind of purple fairy fantasy colors of the wild woods and the ever after, almost like a seasonal transition. So we have Pirate Donald over here enjoying a sit on the new chair and table set in front of Fairy Godmother's house. It's an enchanted village, so even pirates can be here. So this area kind of came together. I wanted to be whimsical. Most of this whole, I'd say, biome is whimsical. And every house in this area is basically an object. We have a pumpkin, we have a mushroom, and we have a teapot. Now, I mean, it could have done all food objects, but the teapot was a great size and just fit in and rounded out the house skins that I used in this area of the wild woods. And I wanted to kind of be more of a fall turning into winter. So it wasn't so abrupt coming in from the bind, which I have not decorated yet. So this is my first fully decorated area in Storybook Vale. So I've had a lot of fun working over here and doing live streams over here. It's just a beautiful world. And I have had an honor of making it what I feel is even more beautiful. And I just kind of love seeing how things manifest and what happens because I go into it a lot of times at the beginning not knowing. Like this area, for example, was built around the Cloud House and new name and gaming grand Lisa from my live streams. Lisa's my wonderful mod and new name, of course, an incredible content creator as well as Lisa. So they were like, I'm struggling with this Cloud House, which I'm sure they would figure it out. I'm sure they would do an amazing job with Cloud House. But I was like, all right, if you guys, we just shifted gears. We were working actually in the Maleficent area, my spookier area up in the Beanstalk Marshes. And so I just brought the Cloud House down here. I thought it was a good location. And, it took a while. This was pretty epic build. And I really like how it turned out. And I think it's just like really cool how you can do some of your most interesting work in Dreamlight Valley with just random prompts from people. I would have never probably put the cloud house here, but it worked. We got a pumpkin, we have a teapot, we have a mushroom, we have a cloud, and this little back area I felt was enchanting. I was a little daunted at first on, okay, I want to be able to walk around most of my builds, kind of front, back, side. That's been a big goal of mine in my rebuild of my valley and also my new builds. Sometimes I've just shoved house skins up into a corner and, you kind of see a front or a side. So I'm really trying to build in like 360. Now, doing this river kit, I had to mirror it on both sides. So that was quite tricky. And also doing the waterfalls at diagonals was really tricky. So you have to do a lot of filler. And luckily, Poppy, incredible content creator Poppy, was in my stream and helped me do that as well. And I really appreciate it because that was quite tricky. So I ended up putting the up house and this kind of beach cafe into this build. I just felt like the colors really tied in with the cloud house and created just more. This is more like a summery vibe. I'd say spring, summer. Lots of pinks and greens. We're getting out of those fall colors. I didn't want to use any of the fall colors over in this area because we were just creating kind of a pastel, colorful. I'm going to use the word whimsical a lot. You'll be like, if she says whimsical one more time. But yeah, that's just what I was going for. And just, I've been trying to not be so pat with the biomes. And over here, it's easy not to because everything is so unusual. And I did this little interior courtyard area. I wasn't going to do any of the interior areas because of the item count, but I was inspired again by a new name who was doing these areas. And after I finished this Wild Woods build, this little fountain looks so sad. So I'm like, all right, I'll decorate it so I don't have to look at that because it's kind of, go into this kind of Wonderland, which actually we will be going into in a moment because this build leads us right into my Alice in Wonderland build. And I was very intimidated to do this. It's just such an iconic thing with iconic characters, iconic aesthetic, and I just wanted to nail it. And I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. I did this kind of disco floor with the Mome Rath path, and I did this for my Rainbow Dream Snap. And so I decided to bring that in over here. I just wanted to kind of like a fantastical fun house feel. I really wanted you to feel like you were going into a wonderland that was kind of topsy turvy, didn't make a lot of sense, but still beautiful and exciting. So, this is the Mad Hatter's house. And again, oh, I guess that would have worked over in the other side because it's a hat. But yeah, a lot of this land is filled with representational architecture. It's almost like Los Angeles. So I did some of the moving and talking flowers. I tried not to overdo it with it because I wanted them to be like a little surprise, like, whoops, oh, here you go. Here's some trumpets. Here's a crazy, scary, large flower in your face. And that works very well when you're about to talk to the Cheshire Cat, who's going to confuse you and probably send you in many different directions, except the direction that you want to go to. And then I struggled a bit with this transition area, and I decided to center it around the fast travel well, the Wonderland well, and I used the Figment topiaries. I know Figment has nothing to do with Wonderland, but just the bright colors really tie it together and create really good bookends for this fun little land. And the rose lamps kind of tying in that the Queen of Hearts castle is right here to my left. And we will not be going into it at this juncture. I am going to enter from my castle village as kind of like the final castle on that tour, but it's a really great way to enter into that build. So I decided to save that for last. And I was again very intimidated to do the Queen of Hearts castle. Again, content creator Poppy did like an insane Queen of Hearts castle build, and many others that I saw that blew my mind, but I did it anyway, and I am happy with how it turned out. And it really helped doing it on stream and getting help from all the amazing people that hang out with me. A lot of them great content creators. And yeah, so we're finally kind of walking out of this part of the Alice in Wonderland build after leaving Alice's house, mostly inspired by the pinks and the whites and kind of feminine and frilly aesthetic. And of course, then we're going into the opposite kind of land up here. The Beanstalk Marshes is kind of like my forgotten lands of the ever after, because it's home to the beanstalk that leads to Maleficent's castle and also Ursula. I also put the Thorny Cottage here, the witch house, the Halloween house, monsters house. So definitely this is my villainous lair of the ever after, and I mainly wanted to use the greens and purples and then dotted it with some of the yellow and the fuchsia to kind of just give it some punches so it didn't feel all one flavor and, too monotone with the two colors. And of course, the blues from just the natural landscape of the area. I also used a lot of the big clusters here, which give it a hilly effect. I used a lot of these buildings in my main valley, especially in the Forgotten Lands. So it was quite a bit of a challenge to try and make it different. It's like a similar vibe. You're using similar buildings or house skins. And, it's a great challenge to, make it spooky, get the ambience similar, but to really feel like you're in another place. This isn't the Forgotten Lands. This is the Beanstalk Marshes, and I wanted them to have its own attitude. And even though I have to use some similar objects to create that vibe. And this is my favorite place. I've had Ursula. I did have her in the Glade for the longest time, and I did like her there. But once it became the Princess and the Frog, it was kind of weird to have Ursula over there. And I just think she just fits in gorgeously. I'm glad that this was a water biome. I know that now we have the river kit, but I had done a lot of decorating in my valley before the river kit and was just kind of getting used to using it in bigger ways, which you'll see in the next build, the castle village. And this thorny cottage is what inspired this whole build. I was like, it's my first build in the Storybook Vale in the Ever After. And we just gotten the cottage, and so I was like, well, let's try that. I just thought it was a really adorable house. And this whole little universe kind of sprung up from it. And I know some people are doing like dual builds up here to where one is like the Rosy Cottage and Sweet Aurora, and then the other side is Maleficent. But I just already had put Ursula up here and then decided to do the Monsters Inc. house, the Victorian, because it just looked really great. Again, it's just one of those things that fit the aesthetic, even though the monsters aren't like bad people. Like some of the characters that live up here, it's still, like I said, fits the vibe. So now we are going down into what is the last build, but we will go down to the Queen of Hearts castle once we leave here. I love walking up to the Beauty and Beast castle. I created this moat on each side, which was quite daunting, one of the bigger waterways that I have done, but I am really thrilled with the way that it turned out. I have always wanted to have a moat to a castle in Dreamlight Valley, and now it's a reality. And thank goodness for this low marble fence that is very hard to craft, but it really just kind of gives it a punctuation and makes it feel more real than just a piece of water pixel art stuck on the land. And then here's the entrance to the fallen fortress. And I love having castle runs of old castles with new castles. It's, a thing in real life. And whenever I do a castle centric build, I think it's just kind of the perfect blend of old and new. Things are more pristine or in ruin. Now we're coming to the central square where the other three castles converge: the Cinderella Castle, the Frozen Castle, and the Corona Castle. And even though they have their own vibes, and I tried to kind of create little subworlds within them. There's frozen things around the frozen castle. This is more gold and blue and regal. And then the Corona Castle, I wanted to make more like, a castle you would find like something in Italy. And then you have also the back of the Beauty and Beast castle, which I did another waterway up to the back of that. And I just love that transition area. So I don't know what gave me the crazy idea to put all the castles together, but I just thought all of these buildings look great over here. And I think it really works out. It's really fun. I picture it kind of like one of those just grand neighborhoods where all the houses are ostentatious and expensive. And, in this neighborhood, it's very old world and they just happen to be castles. And it was challenging to try and merge the aesthetics of all three and also give them each their own unique personality while having them mesh together. But I think it's been accomplished, and I really enjoy being over here. It feels very majestic. It feels regal. So I had to dress appropriately, of course. There is a dress code in the Fallen Fortress. So now we're going to walk back to the back of the frozen build. Like I said, I like to utilize all sides of the building, especially it's kind of my new obsession. So I got to use a lot of our last winter star path items. I think they look beautiful back here, creating a little hangout, little area for respite. And then made this little trail. I thought a pavilion tent was really cool. You see that, in many, like in castle courts, they have tents. So on stream, Lana, great content creator, Blossom and Play, is also a fantastic mod of mine. She gave me the idea to do the cozy fireplace reading nook. Also, Jay, shout out to Jay, who also prompted this build, which I probably would not have decorated it this way. I probably would have put a pool here, but I think it's adorable. And thank you for your input and taking me out of my comfort zone. I think this whole like area of the ever after has taken me a little bit out of my comfort zone because it's kind of like a place where all things are possible. It's not like, oh, this is a savannah, this is a desert, this is a jungle. I think that in Storybook Vale, they really created a storybook fantasy land and, allowed me to be very creative with the choices. And yeah, it was very exciting to do. Here is that back waterway. Now, the front of this castle was a nightmare because of the footprint. So I did a lot of kind of clever pathing to cover up that. And then in the back, I could actually run the water almost up to the castle, which is very strange. But there is a little bit of a gap, but you never see it up close. So it's just something that's not visible when you walk around. And I just think it kind of completes the magic of the majesty when you walk up to that Beauty and the Beast castle from the Beanstalk Marshes. So now we are going down into the Queen of Hearts castle. Now, I decided to make it the last build of the Castleville, even though this is in my Alice in Wonderland build in the Teapot Falls. I just feel like entering from that area is the most impact. So I created the castle wall courtyard and then used the Heart Castle to create the kind of courtyard and the actual castle house or the Queen of Hearts. I decided to make this whole area just a gigantic banquet. There's a lot of eating and banqueting and tea partying over here in the Wonderland build. And I think it turned out really fantastic. I mean, you think of old castles, you just think of these giant, banquet halls. And we got the gorgeous banquet tables, and I finally got all the pieces. So I decided to utilize them, and I had so much fun cooking all of this crazy food and bread and meat pies and, fish platters stacked in tiers. I just was wanting to be like, what would be in like a royal feast back in the day with a bit of a fairy tale twist. And then we have a couple of other tables over here. I love all the gold, and of course the dessert table and the one chandelier you can put inside. And I'm really excited to have these new banners more than I thought I would be. They work really incredible over here, and I've seen other players use them in a really neat way. So now we have the final entree to the Queen of Hearts castle. And these rugs were made by Poppy as well. I'll mention her like 10,000 times because she helps me out so much during my streams. But I thank you guys for getting this far in the tour with me. And if you've gotten this far, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. And now for the night tour. I thank you so much for joining me on this tour of my Ever After. I love decorating over here in Storybook Vale and hope to inspire you. I've been inspired by all of you at one point or another, and I hope you've had a lovely time. And again, if you've gotten this far in the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we also have some fun membership benefits. So I'll see you in the next one.